Hey everyone, Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive, November 14th, 2018. I am in Denver for the Flat Earth Conference. I apologize for the audio differences. I did not bring my microphone here to the conference, so I'm using the one built into my computer, which isn't that good. So we're going to take a look at this right here. This is a blatant, just total either misunderstanding of science, and this guy does videos all the time claiming that we don't know our science. He left a rather disturbing comment on one of my videos that I just don't understand the moon's motions. So let's take a look at this. Now this is 2 minutes and 19 seconds I've cut this down to, and you need to understand this 2 minutes and 19 seconds, why they believe the shadow must move from west to east on the earth. During the 2017 Great American Eclipse, August 21st of 2017, the big controversy was, how can the shadow move from west to east? Well, this guy on here, I don't know who's actually doing this in the video. I don't know if it's the channel person or not, but let's take a look at this explanation, and then we'll come back and look at some comments, and we'll go from there to show that absolutely they cannot either research or want to deny the research. Here we go.
Here's the Earth. Yeah. And it is rotating all the time west to east. We're on the Earth and we rotate around and we see, we're looking at it, this is the North Pole, we're looking straight down. We rotate this way, we see the sun and the moon rise in the east and set in the west because we are moving towards the east, right? We'll make the orange the moon, okay?
Where's the
moon? The thing that people don't get about the moon is it's really far away. I can't even draw it far enough
It's
away.
off the table.
It's really, it's one-third, it's about 1/4 the size of the Earth, and it's 30 Earth diameters away, so it's really off the table. It's really far away.
All right.
So, this travels once every 24 hours, right? One revolution for 24 hours. The moon goes around the Earth in the same direction every 27 days.
Okay.
So it's moving, you would think, a lot slower because it takes 27 days,
Yeah.
and this takes 24 hours. But as it turns out, because this orbit is so big, it's actually 60 times the diameter of the Earth, that it's actually moving faster. The Earth is moving at about 1,000 miles per hour at the surface, at the equator. That's how fast the surface rotates.
Okay.
The moon is moving at about 2,000 miles per hour because it's got such a much bigger trip to go around to make one rotation.
Okay.
Now during the solar eclipse, the sunlight is shining this way
Yeah.
from the sun, and the moon just has to move into the sun just a little bit
Into the
so that it
sun.
casts its shadow on the Earth, and then it moves out.
Okay.
And that
Oh,
shadow,
so
the
that's
shadow,
why.
the shadow is moving in this direction
Yeah.
at 2,000 miles per hour, while the Earth's surface is moving at 1,000 miles per hour. So this overtakes it, and that's why it goes west to east. It's moving the same direction, but it's moving faster, and,
Okay.
it makes its shadow on the Earth go across west to east. That's it.
Okay, so we have somebody drawing on a piece of paper. So let's see what NASA actually said about the eclipse and the information they fed to the Washington Post on the August 2017 solar eclipse. See if they say the shadow should go from west to east.
Dear Science, about that eclipse that's happening in August, I heard that the shadow is moving from west to east. But how can that be possible, since the moon moves from east to west?
You know, sometimes you have to point out ridiculous things. Dear Science. Is this Santa Claus? Dear Santa, why is it we live in an age where they're taking billions of dollars daily from us for NASA and other such ridiculous stuff, and we are reduced to Dear Science? The shadow's moving from west to east, and they're going to show why this is the only way it can really go with orbital mechanics.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kaplan and I'll be answering for science today. On August 21st, something really exciting is going to happen in the US, a total solar eclipse. This is what happens when the moon passes in front of the sun, and it's going to cast a shadow that travels across the United States all the way from the Oregon coast to South Carolina. But wait, the moon rises in the east and sets in the west. Why is the shadow moving from west to east? This is actually a really big question.
Why on God's green earth would an astrophysicist have problems explaining why the shadow moves west to east? Is it maybe because it's BS?
And even astrophysicists sometimes have trouble answering it. Let's see if any of my colleagues can help. We're trying to figure out why is it that the eclipse goes from west to east.
Now you know it wouldn't be a real presentation from science or NASA unless you got the Sesame Street Disney dumbed down world so that people just have a chuckle instead of really questioning what they're saying. Now this woman here in the middle, she's representing the Earth, like you saw in the diagram earlier in this video, rotating, but then this is representing the moon moving much faster so that they can prove that the eclipse has to go from west to east. Let's peer in and see the stupidity. So I'll place the Earth here and the moon here so you can see the visual representation of what we were seeing from the guy drawing with crayons earlier. So let's admit it, guys, all that makes sense, doesn't it? The Earth is moving west to east at 1,000 miles an hour, but since the moon is so much further away, 30 diameters of the Earth away, and because it moves once in 24 hours around, or once every 27 days, I should say, that the speed is actually faster. Let's call it 2-to-1 ratio, just for roughness. So it makes total sense with those orbital mechanics taking place that the moon would go from west to east. And that would cause that shadow to go from west to east, because orbital mechanics are orbital mechanics. The moon is moving west to east at so many miles per hour, and it beats the Earth. So what can we say about that? Well, the only thing we can say about that is, well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? So, you know, these clips, by the way, that I've been showing you, they're from my video called The Moon is 70 Miles Wide, and then I followed that up with The Moon is 70 Miles Wide Proved, which shows, and I'll put a link up here right now, it shows that there's absolutely no way the moon could be wider than 70 miles because that's how wide the shadow is, and a shadow cannot be smaller than the blocking object. And if you don't believe that, go out in the sun, take any object, cast it onto something else, and get that shadow to be smaller than the blocking object. You won't be able to do it. So check that out. That destroys the moon also. So this all makes sense. The moon is going around much faster than the Earth's spin, and so it appears to move west to east. In fact, not just this eclipse, let's look at some other ones. Now here is a look at eclipse data from the past. You can get this on NASA's own website, and NASA even admits that it's a calculated formula used, not orbital mechanics, to come up with eclipses. But that's for another story altogether, for another video, another time. Let's look at these eclipses. Wow, we got some weird eclipses going. But yeah, they're all going west to east, even though they kind of bend, which would get into a difference in the speed of the orbit of the moon, wouldn't it? Because the Earth, it definitely doesn't change. So, whoops, what do we got here in Russia? Let's take a look at that closely, shall we? Okay, ooh, looky what we got here. What is this? Over northern Russia, then all the way down into China on September 22nd, 1968. Let's take a look at that even closer. Look at this. Look at this. It moves from here, look at the compass, starts in the east, heads west, then goes south, then turns east. So I reached out to NASA and science, and here was the reaction to this eclipse moving east to west. Well, you know what people will say, well, this is so far north, it's the rays of the sun coming over the top of the earth. And guys, I'm not making this up. That's what I was told. This is the reason for this eclipse. In fact, somebody came and wanted to verify and actually show me this. So let's look at what happens on the equinox date, because that's what it is. Oops, it's the equinox date. Just as a refresher, on the equinox date, the sun's rays do not come over the earth down to the other side, do they? No, they're all parallel all over the earth, and we've covered that before in many other videos. So this person, this global person who was very intelligent, wanted to show me this. When we got there to show the actual simulated shadow, and NASA will show you that, he got there and said, let me show you, and then he noticed the date, September 22nd. Oops. Can't happen on the equinox date. He went bye-byes really quickly. So let's animate this a little bit funny too, so we can sort of match NASA's ridiculousness. Let's look at this eclipse in Mr. Thrive and Survive's Eclipse Replay Machine. Okay, here we go. Da 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 da. Hey, if they're going to be ridiculous, we might as well be ridiculous. Maybe you got to match them somehow. Let's play this in reverse, huh? Ooh. It starts out in the east. Remember, here's the little compass. And it heads west, southwest, almost due south, south-southeast, and then finally east, and the eclipse ends. Now, with your little moon spinning around the earth faster than the earth, what happens? Did this part up here, let's back it up. Did this part up here, for some reason, the orbital mechanics, the moon just really slowed up, and the Earth passed it. Okay, the Earth was passing the moon here because it was faster than the moon's orbit. But then all of a sudden, the moon said, "I'm catching up. I don't like losing a race." Tortoise and the hare, right? Oops. This is not possible in their model. So they spent all this time, because there was a lot of attention on the Great American Eclipse, and this just blows it out of the water. And if we go back and take a look at other eclipses, we see that there's all kind of different eclipse paths. I don't even know what this weird thing is here. Looks like it does a little hand fan, doesn't it? But you've got all kind of weird stuff going on all over the place. And guess what? If it's not heading directly west-east, if it changes like more to the north or more to the south, if the Earth speed doesn't change, it means the orbit of the moon is rapidly changing, because it's actually covering more ground, or actually I should say less ground, over a greater period of time when it curves away from due west-east the way the Earth rotates, correct? That's stuff for more advanced stuff, but even the basic globe heads should be able to see this. There'll be an excuse, but you can't deny reality. And the reality is that you will find eclipses all through history, and NASA's site goes way back to BC eclipses. You'll find all kind of different strange paths that make absolutely no sense. In fact, 100% impossible to be explained using orbital mechanics of the moon. This is a 100% bust of NASA's bullcrap. They should play the song and have people run around each other, because it's a total freaking joke. Take care, everyone.